Hello everyone. Today in this demo, I'll be going through the technical summary of our framework. What does this mean? This means let us go through the repository SnapLogic robot framework examples and understand what are the folder structure and what you need to know before you even start executing your test cases. Okay. So before you start executing your test cases, there is certain configuration setup you need to be aware of and need to understand what is needed prior to your execution of test cases. The first thing is I want to make sure that we understand what is the variable naming convention we used in this framework across all the test cases. So all variables in capital letters are environment variables which are loaded from .env files. I am assuming we have the knowledge what is .env file and what are the environment variables. And all the user defined variables are being added with the lowercase letters. Okay, so this understanding is absolutely needed and important so that you can understand test cases when going through the test cases, what are environment variables and what are user defined variables. The next thing is pipeline preparation. So what you need to do, forget about automation. Before even starting executing, thinking about automation, you need to build and test your pipeline in SnapLogic Designer. Ensure the pipeline executes successfully. Okay, so one of the best practice when you are building the pipeline is use pipeline parameters for account names or database connection details, file paths, or any other configurable values. So why to use pipeline parameters? Because they provide flexibility to execute pipeline with different data sets, and it allows runtime updates through trigger tasks and makes pipeline reusable across environments. Okay. Once you have this, you need to have clear understanding of the accounts that are created in this pipeline and where you want to create those accounts in shared folder, global shared folder, or project shared folder, whatever it is, and also clear understanding of where your pipelines to be imported. I mean to say the project space, project path, and where it should be imported. So once you get this understanding, what is expected? We are now having a valid.slp file and we have clear understanding of the accounts and clear details about the account credentials, and we have clear picture and knowledge about where we have to create these pipelines and accounts, which project space, which project, whether it is in global shared folder. Okay, so once you get the valid SLP file, you have to upload this into the SRC pipeline location. I will go through that in the next few minutes, what this exactly mean. Okay. Next thing is Groundplex configuration. So now when you want to execute your pipelines, make sure what you want. Whether you want to use an existing Groundplex or you want to create a Groundplex and use it dynamically during the framework test case creation. So based on that, you need to provide some variables in our .env file. So when you want to use your existing Groundplex, there is only one variable that you have to provide the existing Groundplex name. But when you want to create a new Groundplex via automation, then you need to give certain other details also in your .env file. So these are the details that are needed based on your requirement. Okay. Next, coming to the account configuration section. So you need to understand what are the credentials of your account and where the account location is. And depending on that, you have to provide the account credentials in your respective .env file. So there are a lot of .env files present with respect to each account. Suppose for Oracle account, I have .env.oracle, and SQL account, this is the MySQL account, this is the file. I'll go through this directory structure in detail in my next steps. Okay, for now, just I want to make sure this is understood that we need to know the credentials, account credentials. Similarly, other test variables are also needed for us, means what you want your pipeline name should be, pipeline file name, what task name you want to create. Those we can go through as we are running our test. Okay. Now let me go through our framework. Okay. So now once you install, I mean to say once you clone the repository, this is the structure you see. SnapLogic robot framework example here, cookie cutter.primary pipeline name. What is this cookie cutter? So here there are some advantages of using the cookie cutter concept. We can go through that in detail later. For now, you can just leave it and go through the other details about Docker and environment files. Okay, I'll go through this cookie cutter in another video. So once you install it, you understand that this is the structure that got created. Okay, in this structure, I have .env file will not be there for you. If you see this is in light gray color, that means like this one I created it and I cannot check into the Git any repository. Okay, so leave about this. The rest of the folder is created. Coming now, as we mentioned in our prerequisites video, this is a Docker containerized framework. So here at the root level means if you expand this cookie cutter root level, if you see this is the heart of this framework, Docker compose.yaml. So which will bring up all the services. I am assuming you have some Docker knowledge. Just on a high level, Docker is a container. It will hold all the needed services for you in an isolated manner, which means you will get complete control of the execution, administration, testing, or any kind of testing on the services which is isolated from actual production system environment. I'll go through that in detail too, but just let us focus right now on this Docker compose.yaml. So in this Docker compose, we will be creating some services. For this, right now, we are focusing on execution of robot framework test cases. I'm assuming that you have a pipeline, you have some Oracle instance, and you want to execute the test cases. It's just a three-step here. Okay. For that, in this framework, there is a service called tool service. This tool service is needed for executing your test cases. Let us understand what does this tool service do and what does it contain exactly. So if you see this is the context SRC tools and this tool service is using robot.docker file. Let us see what does this robot.docker file has. This robot.docker file has a created from the Python package, and there are some system dependencies for database drivers. So leave this one, this line number 8 to uh, line number 30, not 30, like here until 34. These are needed for Mac service or Windows service. Some libraries are needed for installation, so those are not needed. Those need not be changed anytime by you or anyone. So standard ones. Let me focus on this particular line, copy requirements.txt. So here we are bringing that requirement.txt and you are using pip install and from the package this requirement.txt here. Okay. So what does this requirement.txt have? Let us go through that like requirements.txt. So here, when you bring up this Docker service, this requirements.txt file, what are all the libraries that are present in this requirements.txt will be installed into the tool service container. Okay. When you run your test cases in the tool service container, you will be having readily available all the libraries that are needed for executing your test cases. Here, if you see SnapLogic Common Robot Library, as we mentioned in our earlier videos, this is a library. What is this library contains? It contains a pre-built defined SnapLogic keywords and APIs that are needed for execution of your test cases along with the robot framework libraries installation also. So here when in the requirements.library is installed, it installs SnapLogic Common Robot. This SnapLogic Common Robot includes robot framework related libraries, entire robot framework related libraries. Okay, and These are all the other database libraries that get installed when you are executing that particular service related test cases. But the core underlying point, what we want to understand here is when we are bringing up the tool service, all the libraries that are present in this requirements.txt will be installed inside the tools service of the Docker container. Okay, so here if you see this name of this container is SnapLogic's test example tools container. Okay, I already installed it, but I will let you, this is my Docker. In this Docker, I will show you again, like I'll kill the services and show you. Just for now, I am just showing you. Here, if you see, this is one of the service, SnapLogic test example tools container. This service should be up and running for your robot test to execute successfully. And all your tests will not run locally. It will run inside this tools container. Okay, so when you are debugging or doing any verifications, you need to have this clear understanding. Tests are not running on your local machine. They are running in a Docker container, and in that particular service is running inside the Docker container. Okay, we will go in detail later. This for now, high level understanding is good enough. Okay, just let me go through one of the document that I have over here. So whatever I discussed right now, this is the Docker compose.yaml, which have tools service or tools container, and it builds Docker tool container and it install all the libraries belonging to requirement.txt, and your test cases are ready for execution. Okay, so these are all the details that I have mentioned here. So if you see this document is readme how to guide infra setup guides Docker compose flow. Okay, you can see this. So in this main root folder means I am referring to again cookie cutter folder. Only tool service is there. Now what's next? What I want to tell you is, suppose now you want to test some of your Oracle test cases or Postgres SQL Server test cases. You don't have any credentials with you. You have only production related credentials, but you want to test your test cases against your own instance. Again, here there are two cases. Just like as I mentioned for Groundplex, you have two choices here. Whether you want to run the Groundplex on the directly on existing Plex or you want to create through the framework. Similarly, for any other database services, when you are testing, check your options. Are you planning to test your test cases against the certain credentials which you have already existing instances running on your somewhere else in your machine, or you want to bring up your own instance, that means in the Docker container, and completely test end to end. Example, there is an Oracle service. You don't have, you have to ask your IT team what are my production credentials. Now they have to give you, then you have to use their credentials, but meanwhile you want to do your testing in a staging environment, and you can create your own Oracle instance, and you can completely have control over that instance to do all admin kind of test cases also, or any kind of test cases, and then continue your testing. Docker gives you that flexibility. Just I'll go through that scenario with you where you want to create your own instance of the Oracle or Postgres or SQL Server and then continue your testing. Let me just let you know that kind of setup. How does that work? Here, if you see, just for modularity and clarity purposes, I did not included all the services in one Docker Compose file. I have added each Docker Compose service file in the respective folder under the folder name called Docker. And I am including all of them at root level here. This is the structure we are following. So coming to this Oracle service, if you see Docker, Oracle, Docker Compose Oracle YAML. So if you see, observe this, we are getting an image from oracle.com database, and ports, what we are, the ports we are using is 1521. environment is Oracle password environment. I'm giving the password as Oracle 123. And there are other stuff I'm doing here, but my point to tell you here is this is very much localized to your particular environment. And this, when you start this service, Oracle service, similarly, as I mentioned to you, starting tool service, then you can see this particular service is here running. If you see here, let me go through that Oracle DB. This is the service. This is your own instance in this container. So nobody have control over it. You can do whatever you want in this particular instance and test your pipeline with the credentials completely like in your control. Okay. So here, once you see the Oracle username will be certain thing and password you give, you can change by giving password here 1234. If you don't want to use port 1521, you can change here. And also like I am creating some initial schemas on this particular service. I just added some more details. We can enhance this, but this is the sample I am showing you. For Oracle, we have done like this. Even for MySQL also, if you see here, I brought MySQL instance and database is test, username is test user, password is SnapLogic. You can change this as and when you need. And this is not case sensitive because anytime, whenever you bring your own instance, it is belonging to your local machine. Okay, these details can be provided and can be checked into the GitHub. So this is the concept of the Docker. I believe this is clear. If not, we can discuss it in our further later technical sessions. Okay, so at the main root level, if you see Docker Compose YAML is there, this includes other compose files which are present under our Docker folder. Okay, this is main thing which you have to understand. Next, once you have your services up and running, next thing is you have to provide some details. So this Oracle service is up and running, right? Now you want to change the details of this Oracle. There is a certain way to do this by giving the credentials in your .env file. Okay, let me just little bit uh, step back and explain you about environment variables. I believe you know the fundamental concept of environment variables. I'm assuming that you have that knowledge and I'm continuing this. Okay. So now if you see when you check in the repository, you have this .env.example file. In this example file, there are certain fields which are being added, and as a user, you before executing your test cases, you have to provide the framework on which URL you want to execute your test cases. What is the username, password, organization name, and what is the project space you want to use for your pipelines? What's the project name, project path, and any other. See, if you see here, I have given everything in a capital letters, which means all these are environment variables. And Groundplex configuration also, depending on your requirement. If ever you want to use existing Groundplex, give only one variable. And if you want to give other details, then you can give Groundplex underscore env, release build version. These are details if you want to bring up your own Groundplex. Okay, then you have to have clear understanding about pipelines and account configuration, where your pipeline should be imported, where your account should be imported. Okay, so these are all the details that are needed when before starting your execution. So what you have to do is create a .env file, okay, and provide all the details that are needed for your test case execution, because this is the information. Just like you have an idea when you are given like a task of verify this pipeline manually, then you need this information as well. Similarly, automation framework also needs certain information before it start executing. So provide that particular information in a .env file. Okay, I believe this is clear. Okay, it's done. Now, coming to the account credentials, what am I talking earlier? Okay, so here, if you see Oracle account, if you take, okay, we have env underscore files folder where I have database accounts, where I have Oracle. When I am creating an Oracle account in my pipeline, I need to give certain details to create an account. So Oracle account, and we need a uh, payload file for creating Oracle account. Actually, you don't have to do anything about it. Just all the payload files are standard. Don't worry, and you don't have to change this particular payload file information in any of the .env files. Okay, unless otherwise you need really very edge cases. Otherwise, when you are creating an account, you have to provide Oracle account name, account host, database port, user, password name. Let me show you by logging into this system. What does I mean about it? Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, let us go through a manager page. Okay, now if I go to this accounts, when I am creating Oracle, oh, here, Oracle thin account. So what information I have to give here? I have to give the name of the account. What is the host name, port number, database name, username, password. At least these are the minimum details that are needed. So in this framework, what we are doing is anytime we are creating the account dynamically for the respective pipeline. So give this Oracle account name, whatever that is present here for as a label. Okay. And Oracle host name. What is the host name you want to enter? What is the database name? So here, this is the database. Okay. Update this information. So here, as I mentioned to you, there are two choices for you. One choice is you create your account by yourself as part of the Docker container. Second one is use your existing credentials. So whatever we have in this file right now, .env.oracle is belonging to this Docker Compose Oracle file. And if you give these credentials, it will be matching to the Oracle service that is brought up as part of the Docker container. Otherwise, if you think, no, I don't want to bring up my own service. I already have an existing credentials with a different instance which is properly running. I want to give it. Then what you do is copy this entire folder. Okay. .env.oracle to the your .env file. Let me show you here. .env. Okay. And update here. Okay, don't worry about this payload file. Don't update payload file at all. So whatever is in your control. When you are doing your manual testing, you might have entered certain details over here. Just you have to update here. My Oracle account name is Oracle account 2 something, and my host name is Oracle DB, not Oracle DB, some other DB, just DB2. My database name is SnapLogic. Port number is 152. My username is like SnapLogic something. Okay, if you do this, what will happen is by default, all the environment variables are being captured from this particular .env file. Let me show you here, Docker. From this file. When you have given the same details in your .env file, your .env or see same variables are mentioned in these two files, then the highest precedence will be taken care by the variables that are present in .env file. Okay, in that way, when you are running your test cases and creating an account, then the variables values from this particular .env file will be captured for creating an Oracle account. Okay, or Snowflake account, whatever it is. This is what we have right now. Okay. Now, what I have mentioned, just I'm summarizing at a root level, get an understanding of this Docker Compose file and .env.example and then env underscore files. Okay. These are the main three things which you have to get clear understanding for debugging issues. You don't have to write any code or anything. Okay, next thing what I want to show you is makefile. Okay, when you come to this makefile, um, I believe I'm assuming that you have an understanding what does the make commands do and just proceeding further. So these make commands will be helping us to execute multiple sets of lines as a script or anything using one command, using that make and give the target. See, in this make file, I have status. This status is called target. Now, if I have run, just let me cd to this particular folder. Okay, cd paste. Make status. This is called target. It shows me like what are all the containers running and everything. This is called target. So we will add targets and add some steps which will run when we run that particular target using make command. That is what make command does. Okay. So now in this make file, if you see the target names, they are pretty much self-explanatory. And we have make commands, lot of make commands. And to make code modular and understandable, I separated out make commands into different sections and added it under make files. So if you see in my main make file, I am including all the commands from this make files so that we can execute them and understand them very easily based on the file name. If you see here, this is the make file. These are some of the common services. For database services, suppose if I take Oracle. For Oracle, if I want to start the Oracle service, my target is Oracle start. I can just directly type make Oracle start. Oracle start is my target. Okay, so this is how the makefile commands will work. So just get an understanding of this makefile commands also. Um, and then we will see like how the execution will work in the next video. But in this video, I am focusing on just understanding the folder structures on the high level, what is their usage. So here, just to finally summarize, Docker Compose file is one thing which you need to be aware of. And next thing what we spoke about is .env.example, which is very, very important. And then like Docker Compose and Makefile. And here if you see env files have all the environment variables and Docker files is also having respect to Docker folders. And finally, here if you see this source file src will have all the pipelines. Earlier I mentioned that you need to upload your pipelines once it is ready. So this is an src folder. Whatever pipelines you have, valid pipeline you have, which you want to automate, upload that .slp over here. Okay. Then if you see pipelines are there. Here tools, this is the requirements.txt src tools, which is being installed when you are bringing up the tool service container. Okay. Next thing is test folder. If you see, this is the test folder. It has all the test cases under suite. If you see suite, pipeline test, and the folders are pretty much self-explanatory over here, which has all the test cases. And these are the baseline tests that we are providing as part of this framework. So depending on the requirements you have, you can extend these test cases by taking advantage of the SnapLogic common robot library. Okay. And this is the test data that is being provided that are which are being used as part of our pipeline test. And there are some resources files which are being added to support some of the services because they are not extensively available outside. So we are providing that support for that particular method. Suppose if you have Kafka, these things are not available through the robot framework library. So these are being created to support some of the test cases. Okay. And the next thing is if you see the libraries, these are the .py files which are being used by the resources. So you don't have to absolutely worry about any of these things except that you need to get a better understanding and understand pipeline test. If you see Snowflake, there are some baseline tests which are provided here. So these are the just the test we thought based on some of the gathered requirements. If any external requirements came, in which we need to modify SnapLogic keywords file from SnapLogic Common Robot, we keep supporting it. But if you can write some simple logics, general logic to satisfy your requirements, you can do that in the file itself. Okay, so this is the overall architecture of the framework. Summary, just the technical summary. In the another video, we can run the test cases and see how they exactly flow through this. Okay, thank you. If you have any question, feel free to send an email to the SnapLogic team.